People in our houses. Cousin Eddie is the RV is parked out front. The splitter's full, Clark. I love that coffee mug, a cheeseburger. Rob Browne in Memphis. Brenden Martin in Ocala, Florida. Going to be joined here momentarily by Doug Dean in Birmingham. Frank Duffy in Big Canoe up there in North Georgia in the beautiful mountains. The beginning of the Appalachian Trail right near Frank's house. Frank's going to walk that one day and do the show while he does it. Nothing, though, will ever
The
be.
whole thing? It takes like 9 months if you just do it straight.
You have to have a satellite phone, or maybe by then Elon Musk will have Starlink on our iPhones. But got a lot to talk about today. But before we do it, take a picture with your QR, with your phone of the QR codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And remember, share us and like us means more than you know. Brenden and I have been talking a lot on strategy. I didn't realize how massive Facebook is. And all of a sudden, so many people are telling me, going, yeah, I watch the show every day on Facebook. And obviously, we're big on Twitter and YouTube. All of you on Facebook.
We're old. We are old. And the old people like us are on Facebook. That's why we go to Facebook. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot, man. There's a lot of intelligence on there, a lot of stuff on there. We got a great one today. Also, Ken Capps will join us about 25 after. He's got some really good stuff on these rivalry games. Obviously, Texas A&M, the Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl, clean old-fashioned hate, Georgia Tech, Georgia. Man, LSU and Oklahoma in Norman. That one, folks, is significant. Florida State. Florida, hard to believe with the expectations in the preseason where both of those programs are right now. And I guess Mike Norvell will be back simply because they can't afford to fire him. That's where we are. Look, let's get started. Let's bring in the Friday College Roundtable with these esteemed gentlemen, smart scholars. Frank, how cold is it up there in North Georgia? I love the coat of arms behind you.
25 degrees this morning. And we try to get the outdoor cat that's our patrol for the mice and everything, get him into the garage on really cold nights. He looked at me, he goes, no, I'm tough. I got this. 4 o'clock this morning, I heard him crying at the window.
Oh, yeah.
Let me get into the garage.
Yeah, we got Cassie over here. Cassie works. I'm at the farm. She works the shop next door, but she's been more and more coming in. And then Spartacus Matt Foley, because Audrey found him. He was living in a van in somebody's house. They said, "Do you want a cat?" Hadn't seen a mouse in 6 months until last night. It's so cold, one broke, but we're going to take care of that. Cassie and Matt, I think last night already disposed of it. But FSU sucks. It's rivalry weekend. I love this stuff. Send in your comments. But Doug Dean, man, we had Thanksgiving was awesome last night over at my daughter Hallie is going to have another baby. She already said that's going to be number 2. She goes, I want a backyard full of boys. That means she's getting a girl this time. But and Mallory in Atlanta's got another one coming. So, man, good morning, Go Gators, guys. Where do you even start with all these storylines right now? There's so much red meat to throw out there, and Lane Kiffin, we don't know what he's going to do. Last night, Yancey Porter, he's telling everybody, his bosses and his players, that he's staying. But that's until he says either he's leaving or he's staying. We don't know, but we'll be glued to the TV today. There's so much to watch and cover. What's the biggest one? Hell, I don't know, Frank.
Well, 100% Lane Kiffin will be the coach of the LSU Tigers next year. I would put my reputation as a unpaid journalist on it. I put my arm on a chopping block, and if I'm incorrect, I will do the hula hoop on top of Bengal 1 at the first game of next year. I have been told it was signed, sealed, and delivered on Sunday at the Country Club of Louisiana in a private swanky affair. I was clearly not swanky enough to be invited to. We will see, but I think it is LSU's to lose, and we will know from there. As far as the games, it is a fantastic slate. And look at the slate today, guys.
Just today.
We got the Egg Bowl and the Lane Kiffin press conference to kick us off. And, man, I'm telling you, Georgia and Georgia Tech, you've got Texas and Texas A&M. Can the Aggies not blunder their way to a perfect season? I mean, and do they want to? Would they be better off not going to Georgia and to Atlanta and having to play an extra game? I mean, the intrigue is just going to be fantastic. And like Brendan's boys, when they play Florida State, even though there's nothing on the line, you've got intrigue going on that game. And of course, we got the Iron Bowl, and laying in wait is the Auburn Tigers. And let me tell you something, a wounded tiger is a dangerous animal. And let me tell you, they want to hang one on Bama. Y'all want to hang one on Bama for that debacle with the 3 men rushing, the two guys rushing. Y'all owe them one. And I think you have a great shot of upsetting Alabama in Shug Stadium.
Doug, I Gravedigger. I woke up that Saturday, 2 years ago. Group text. It's half Auburn, half Alabama. It's a mixed one. And I said, Auburn wins tonight, 27-24. Browne, are you smoking the crack pipe? I'm like, no. Doug, that one hurt. But today, it's a different circumstances. What do you think happens down there?
Well, first I want to react to Duff. It's 26 degrees here in Birmingham, so it feels like deer hunting weather, and which is where I will be headed midday, and back in time to enjoy all the rivalry games. This week is always fun because of rivalry games, but some years you don't give Georgia Tech any chance, if you go back a few years, to beat the Bulldogs. I don't think they will today. Yeah. Georgia's surging at the right time, but Haynes King can cause you problems. And then as Duffy and you pointed out so accurately, there's usually several dominoes to fall. This year, there's one massive domino with some psychological issues over the years named Lane Kiffin. And I can't wait to see Duffy. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I hope that ink is dry on the swanky ceremony you talked about, because in 2022, Auburn was led to believe it was a done deal. And I guess it was. And, a gentleman's word about what he plans to do used to mean something.
Ain't no words no more.
I know. And but, and Ole Miss fan, man, they've reestablished their baseline, and Kiffin should get some credit for that. The baseline, by that I mean what they're capable of with competent coaching and good talent, a little bit of luck, a few bounces of the ball. So if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I think it's not that you want to be put in your place and go back to losing 5 or 6 games a year. That's not Ole Miss. They absolutely should now expect to be in contention most years. And in that sense, yeah, you can be, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you can be mad at Lane if he does go to LSU or wherever. We probably need to keep U of A, Alabama, on the radar, Duffy, as a 12-hour threat. And I don't want to get into this nonsense that Penn State and DeBoer are flirting seriously. But, I mean, we have seen with all this coaching, I'll get to Frank or Rob's actual question in a second, but we should all comment on this. None of this is on the field so far. Yeah. There's a lot on the field to enjoy this weekend. I think Ole Miss should be grateful for what he's done to increase their expectations to what they're capable of. But I also think there's a strain of Ole Miss fans I know that, are almost at the point they're tired of the drama. Yeah. It's like having that smoke show wife that every time you go to an evening out, there's a wandering eye throughout the room. And do you want to go through that every year? Is it worth that to have a chance at a 9 or 10 win plus every year? Maybe it is. But I do think Kiffin will have, you're going to find out if he goes to LSU, you're going to find out pretty quick if he's all that versus does he let a game or two get away most years? That's the book on Kiffin so far. I tell you what, I think you could send a lot of just slightly above average coaches, Frank, to LSU, and they could win a national championship because you got those kind of resources.
Well, proof is in the pudding, of course. Ed Ogeron 1-1, Les Miles 1-1. And I think the best way to put this in the Lane sweepstakes and the Bachelor, coaching edition, Brendan Fehoko, the former Tiger defensive lineman who won a national championship on Joe Burrow's team, put it best. He goes, "It's like we're all in a bar trying to go after the girl. And the three different types of girls are LSU happens to be the stunner, the 10, though she's got emotional baggage, she's got issues, but at the end of the day, she's still going to be a 10 and she's going to look great. Florida is like that first girlfriend that you happen to find out she's back in town for the holidays, and because he's had that first love for Florida again with Steve Spurrier, and then Ole Miss is the dutiful girlfriend that picked him up off the trash heap when he was like an addict, and she nurses him back, and she deserves all of his love and affection. But you know what? Those types of guys, they leave. And nobody has more empathy if he does come to LSU. Honestly, no one will have more empathy for the fans of Ole Miss than me, because I experienced it with Nick Saban. I know what it's like to be sitting next to the coach who won you a national championship, but you're looking over and she looks like she's got a house coat and curlers on. That was Les Miles. She won me a national championship, but you know what? Every time that the supermodel got on this, on TV, and I watched Nick Saban hoisting, Crystal up in the air, it didn't matter. I longed for that. Guess what, Ole Miss? You're going to have a long, rough road. It was 18 years of psychoanalysis for LSU fans. We're going to be your Alabama if he comes here. And I'm telling you, everything I've heard, and even including the quietness right now of the last 3 days, if Lane Kiffin doesn't come to LSU, it will be the greatest misinformation campaign since the Germans thought we were landing at Calais. That would be troll. Yes, that would be it would be absolutely. And that's what's at stake today.
Dare I say, if you're into metaphors, analogies, Duff, does this work? LSU, at least in this moment, is Ginger. Ole Miss is Marianne.
And Ole Miss is Mrs. Howell. Love it.
A lot to like about Marianne, right?
Hey, look, I'm a Marianne guy. If you ask me who do I like Marianne. So.
Well, you talked about Bodyguard of Lies. I referenced that earlier this week. It was the two books about the deception at the Normandy landing. And that's why Rommel was back in Berlin with his wife for their anniversary eating strudel. Bad move on his part. All right, so let's look around. Brenden sent me some really good stuff this morning. Look at this. Look at this. CFP Shakeup. What actually matters? Which SEC teams control their paths? Which teams need chaos? What the committee in Dallas is signaling to us. Doug, those three right there quickly, and then I'll go to Frank for chapter 2 in this book, because we want to get some answers, and we got a lot of Mariannes out there.
I don't want to make everything be so partisan that everything's about the Iron Bowl. There are half a dozen magnificent games this weekend. If you're an Alabama or Auburn fan, or if you're fair-minded, not many people would say the Iron Bowl rivalry, even in a down year for one team, Auburn this year, is second to few, if any, rivalry games for its bitterness, intensity, the fact that the two teams have to share roughly the same zip codes every year. Ohio State and Michigan get to at least go back to their home state and not see each other if they don't want to. USC and UCLA don't play real big boy football anymore, if you ask me. And I think the Oregon demolition of USC sort of makes the point on that. Yeah. Gosh, how weird is it that Alabama has to win to play in the SEC championship?
It's crazy.
But if they lose everything. In Auburn, you never like to have a bad year, but if you find a way to beat Alabama, you're not unhappy, since it played out that way, that gives Alabama a second bad loss. It's a bad loss losing in Jordan-Hare to Auburn as far as the committee goes. And so Alabama would suddenly need a lot of help at 3 losses. I don't think they can get that much help. Meanwhile, why did Ole Miss get jumped in the play.
That was crazy.
Are they reading into it that Kiffin is not going to play? And let me add one subplot that's really interesting, and it's an opportunity. I'm going to give John Cohen some free advice that he doesn't need from a working stiff like me, but I'll give it anyway. If Kiffin, he's being allowed to coach the Egg Bowl today. Let's say Duffy's right. The ink is dry. He's going. I don't understand why he's allegedly telling Ole Miss players and staffers that he's staying. Why would you need to do that? Setting yourself up for leaving as a bald-faced liar. And we know what Saban unfairly, let me be clear, went through leaving the Dolphins to come to Alabama. I think it's a different circumstance, but I don't understand. I don't understand Ole Miss. Maybe the committee is reading into it. You're not going to have Kiffin. Here's what Cohen needs to do. If Kiffin does not get to coach this Rebels team in the playoffs, assuming they win today, man, that doesn't feel clean for those players who fought their ass off to get to this point. I understand, Big, but how much is there to do in a few weeks? I guess it comes down to Ole Miss saying we can't have a lane. All of a sudden, it's in Lane's interest for Ole Miss to lose because he's going to be at LSU. But if you do hire Sumrall, which is where the money seems to be right now, it'll probably be announced this Sunday midday-ish. Probably I'm hearing that Durkin probably stays on, which would be a huge win. If Tulane makes the playoff, I would announce, assuming Sumrall wants to do this. Listen, we hired a guy that his players love him. That's a factor in why we hired him. And John, if you want to, we encourage you to go coach this team to however they can make it in the playoffs. And I think you look like a statesman in doing that. But I'll be fair, it's harder for LSU to do the same thing than it is Auburn.
Yes, two different things. For doing it with Auburn and Sumrall, absolutely a positive. Having Ole Miss have an LSU coach coaching them, it would be a disaster from a propaganda standpoint.
Agreed. And then if you're Auburn, you get 4 hours of they're talking the whole time. The future Auburn coach, John Sumrall, here with Tulane today.
Yeah. I got the cat was climbing over all the wires. I'm like, woo. Hey, Audrey, come get Cassie. Anyway, but all right. So along that line, Pete Cordelli was in the locker room at the Egg Bowl when Tommy Tuberville was leaving in a pine box. And I've heard the same. It's Doug, you just hit it. You put so much color on this and painted the picture of what it's like. You're telling, I've left a firm before to go to, I was telling them I was staying until I left, until I wasn't. That's the only way it happened. There's no say, this is how you do it.
No easy way.
Jimmy Sexton's getting everybody a pay raise right now, man. Merry Christmas. But all right, so let's look at this. You pretty much covered it. Rivalry week carnage. We talked about Auburn having a puncher's chance, Lane Kiffin, Florida versus Florida State. Quickly, Frank, those two programs' expectations, that's a hell of a rivalry. And today it's the low energy bowl. It should not be that way in a state like Florida with 23 million people. And these two programs, since 1983, the state of Florida has produced 11 national championships. Since 1970, the state of Texas with 30 million people has produced one.
Yeah, no, and look, I'm not going to throw stones. I'm living in a glass house this season, so I ain't
too.
saying nothing. But I will tell you, it is amazing how much Florida has fallen off and Florida State, and both of these programs
are juggernauts.
Just a couple of years ago, Florida State had they made the entire run, and what they did was they let one inability to get into the playoffs not totally disrupt 2 years worth of football. But I applaud Florida for having the balls to gun Sunbelt Billy. But Florida State, shame on you for the money. You're going to take a second product, and you've even said he's a second product, and because you didn't want to take the cost of getting rid of him, what are you, some pikers? You're a freaking state school. You got money. You got alums. Shame on you. That's the difference between the SEC and the ACC. brother, you ain't winning in the SEC, and you get embarrassed when the Colt comes in and is a hooting and hollering and you're in Tiger Stadium for a quarter and a half. Let me tell you something. We passed the hat so quick and made your head spin. 54 million, great. Get them the hell out of here. And by the way, you haven't heard the words Brian Kelly in 3 or 4 weeks. We have just recently said we're going to pay you your 54 million. Get the hell out. Go back up north. We don't want to see or hear from you again. Your lack of passion, your lack of understanding the room was despicable. So if we get Lane Kiffin, I'm telling you what, the Brian Kelly chapter will be like it never happened to be. It'll rank up there with the Curly Holman years that basically everyone is just chosen to have amnesia on. That's what Brian Kelly has. And he's the winningest coach in college football history. You don't think it means more in the SEC?
And how it needs to be footnoted, and it's kind of shocking. Actually, it's kind of revealing to Frank's point that there's the curious comparison of James Franklin, who certainly had his detractors both in not winning the big games and in pissing off the wrong money guys at Penn State. But compare Franklin to Brian Kelly, and it's very LSU has an offset clause. Whatever money Kelly makes somewhere reduces the buyout. But it's, there's a lot of openings at quality programs right now. Franklin has landed at Virginia Tech, and they're respectable. They're certainly in that league. They're capable of getting hot and making a run. What are the prospects for Brian Kelly? I haven't heard any.
Zero.
Haven't heard any rumors. I think he's radioactive, at least for a time.
He is. And I think he's done in college football. I don't think he coaches another down.
How shocking is that? As much as he won at Notre Dame and elsewhere.
You know what I think did him in? The Netflix thing, Any Given Saturday. They showed him he's in Louisiana and he's got his family down there. That's great. In his wine cellar.
Yeah.
Like some effete snob in Martha's Vineyard. No, you are in Louisiana. You embrace that culture and you love on those people.
Never did.
And those people, that is a populist culture down there. You got people that don't have 2 nickels to rub together that find a way to get to Baton Rouge. They listen to I know so many LSU fans. I go to mass with them. Trust me. I don't think it's a coincidence that the purple and gold colors that the priests wear. I don't know. I mean, but I'm just saying.
I never thought about that.
I don't think Lane Kiffin is going to show up and say, "I'm here with my fans."
Oh no. Lane again. No. Lane's like the cool kid that you invite over to the hunting camp, and whether you shot a shotgun or not, he's cool enough to be able to hang with him. He would eat the mock shoe like everybody else does.
Mock shoe, yeah.
Brian Kelly never did.
He never did. And what he needs to do is get on I-10 and go to Best Stop and get some boudin. Look, with Tanner Stein from down in DeRidder and Lake Charles, Stein Home and Yard, a lumber company all over the state. When he comes to the hunting club, he'll bring 200 or 300 pounds of boudin. And you've got to go down below I-10.
Oh, yeah.
Go down there and hug on those people because Brian Kelly was a snob. He looked down on LSU, and shame on him. Let's switch real quickly. Yep. I want to ask Doug about Georgia Tech. You touched on it earlier. Georgia Tech got $10 million to move that game to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And you got a 9-2 Tech team. And you're right, Georgia peaking at the right time. Does Georgia even care if they play for the SEC championship? Be honest.
Well, I'm the wrong one to speak for Bulldog Nation, but I've got some very good Georgia friends, and I absolutely tip I think Kirby Smart is the dean of SEC coaches right now. Yeah. He's earned that. They look wobbly early in the year. But what's admirable about how they build a culture is it's almost as if one game at a time, they got about 5% tougher. They discovered their identity. We're going to be more physical than you, and you're going to not even want to play.
They're ramping up.
By the fourth quarter, you want to get home and lick your wounds. And the same thing is I do not like Bobo as if my life depended on a play call. It would not be Bobo. But at the same time, he has done what helps the Stockton reach his ceiling. So I think it's very tricky betting against Georgia right now. But the kind of college football year we've had after Georgia Tech embarrasses themselves against Pitt, then you have to prepare yourself for some weird things happening, and advantage Georgia being in the bins. Although, I mean, that's you should have the maximum number of Tech fans that would ever go to this game will be there. So it should feel like the old school Iron Bowl. Am I wrong?
No, I totally agree.
50-50 Legion Field kind of vibe. I really look forward to it. I think Georgia's just too much for them going into
I see 70-30. It'll be 70 Georgia. It always is.
That's what it was in Legion Field.
Yeah. But going back to the O'Leary days, I mean, Georgia Tech has had their run, O'Leary, always played Georgia tough, won, a couple times against Donnan.
3 in a row.
Yeah, against Donnan. But, Georgia Tech's never going to have the fan support that Georgia has. And since I've already shot off both my feet with the fact that Lane's coming to LSU and Brian Kelly's never coached another down in college football, I might as well blow another one off. I think without a shadow of a doubt, Georgia would absolutely prefer not to be in the SEC championship game. And I think because Georgia has won 3 out of 4 natties, Georgia 8 years ago would have crawled on broken glass to get into Atlanta. They're not that way anymore. So honest to God, I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech. I think it's going to be closer than the experts say. However, I don't think it matters one way or the other, Georgia. I think they want to get into the playoffs. Obviously, getting into Atlanta, it's like being at the craps table. What's the one thing about craps? You win a lot or you lose a lot. It's a great way to up their ability to get higher seeding, but it's also a way to get a lower seeding, right?
Yeah.
And be tenuous. You don't want that. But honest to God, I don't think it really matters. I think if Georgia goes and plays in Atlanta, that's cool. But if they don't, if Georgia Tech upsets them for whatever reason, and they're the lower one in the tiebreaker, I don't think it matters.
All right, let me throw this one at you real quick. I like Chuck McKenzie. Man, I tell you what. We've got to start paying. I'm going to start paying a lot more attention to Facebook. There are a lot of people watching on Facebook. Chuck McKenzie's a smart guy. Even Sunbelt, he called him Sunbelt Billy, beat Kiffin last year. And this year we had no head coach and had a 4-point lead with 2 minutes left. He's a choker. What do Gator fans see in that choker? Talking about Lane Kiffin. Well, I mean, look, I love the passion, and that's an interesting comment. Let me throw this one now. Looking at these games, Ken Capps will be on here in a minute. Man, he is hooked up. No pun intended. But look at these rivalry games around the country. SMU plays at Cal Berkeley. That will be fun. Virginia Tech at Virginia. Virginia Tech just dominates that series. It's like Clemson, Virginia. It's really strange.
These
are the top. I'm giving you the top 10 rivalry games according to The Athletic. Number 8, Miami at Pitt. That is a nooner today. I see him over there in front of the 7-Eleven. Stand by, Ken. Number 6, Oregon. Number 6, Oregon at Washington. Wow. I mean, here we are, November 28th, and we are fired up about Oregon at Washington. And Ken gets to go all over the country and watch college football. I promise you. I love this game. I love my kids more than anything in the world, and my wife and my parents and my family, but I love college football, and it just keeps getting better. Ole Miss at Mississippi State down in Starkville, Oktibbeha County. Damn, that's going to be fun. They're tailgating in the Junction. You look at this one. Number 5, Georgia versus Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Not down on the flats. That's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You know that the flats are specifically Georgia Tech. Number 4, Alabama at Auburn in Lee County. Holy shnikes. 90,000 in the stadium, 100,000 outside the stadium. Number 3, wow. Can you believe this? Vanderbilt ranks, according to The Athletic, as a bigger rivalry at number 19, Tennessee. By the way, they've been playing football since 1892. First time both teams have ever been ranked. Number 2, Texas A&M at Texas. Second biggest rivalry, and this guy's going to talk about it. Number 1, oh, come on.
I can't believe it's Ohio State, Michigan.
I'm not
gonna, this year. Bullshit.
No way.
Bullshit.
7-11.
A&M in Texas is the marquee game. My it's going to be 20 some odd degrees. My fireplace is going to be roaring. I'm going to find me some Ruby's coffee, and I'm going to be sitting in front of that, and I'm going to have a little Jack Daniels going right in there. Brother, I cannot wait for this game.
Hey,
It's
and
big.
there's the chaos. I think, Ken, don't get mad at me, man. I think Texas is on the outside looking in. However, the chaos scenario, Texas fans are suddenly Auburn fans tomorrow night. Texas fans are Tennessee fans. And it's, and there's a lot of pull that the Longhorns have. If they beat a very highly ranked A&M team, undefeated A&M team, does Texas have a long shot chance to sneak in? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Ken
Arch,
Caps,
baby.
Ken, Football Writers Association of America, from the park. Are you at the 7-Eleven parking lot today?
No, I'm actually down here in Austin, Texas already. I drove down last night to have Thanksgiving with my mom down here, and
Awesome.
it's been great. And the Aggies are already in town too. The Aggie band is going to be marching on Congress Avenue right there at the state capitol at 1:00. So I wanted to make sure I got in town to see that. I mean, this is quite the spectacle. The Aggies have not been here in Austin, for oh my gosh. My
Hey, I bet there was an orderly somewhere nearby. One of them white orderlies jacked up your car.
Ken, I know that was a big announcement. Turned his life upside down.
Hey,
Ken.
that's Ken's
Yeah,
version of horns down.
I'm gonna need to get a
Dear God.
By the way, that's a Freudian horns down. That's a Freudian horns down.
Hey, I'm gonna have to get a sponsor. I'm gonna have to get a sponsor for my tripod there, man. It's the end of the season. The suction cup on my windshield is not working anymore. But here's what I wanted to bring up, guys. This is the 120th time that these two teams are going to play tonight. Now think about it. Our country is going to celebrate its 250th anniversary next year, and these two teams have played 120 times. That's almost half the time.
Yep. Yeah. You're right.
Well, Ken,
and I don't think Texas A&M has ever been more higher and jacked up and ready to get their feet taken out from under them. Arch is going to have a game tonight. You watch. This is his coming out prime time event, and I'm telling you, he's going to have 3 touchdowns, and Texas is going to win this ball game.
All right, Ken.
What?
Yeah, let me say something real quick. I'd say since 1939, it's the biggest game for Texas A&M. That's the last time they won a national championship. Although, don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I'm an Auburn guy, but they claimed 2 more national championships the summer before they joined the league in 2012. But this is the biggest game ever. And by the way, like Doug and you are the same way. You travel everywhere to take care of your mom. You're a great son and a great father, and we're proud to have you on the show. Let her rip. Hook 'em up.
Well, here's the thing. I think what's fun. Well, we had a big day yesterday in the Metroplex, as we like to say, because somehow, some way, the Cowboys beat the Chiefs, and so it's already been a big day in Texas, and so we had a really good time up there yesterday. But coming down here to Austin, I mean, like I said, the Aggies. It's only 90 miles away from College Station, and the Aggies, man, they love to come to Austin. They had midnight yell practice last night at the state capitol, in the rotunda of the state capitol. They think that's the greatest thing in the world. And like I say, the band is going to march down Congress Avenue at 1:00 today. This is a big deal for the Aggies to get to come to the state capital of Texas and play the Longhorns. And, Texas and A&M, it is quite the rivalry of Texas. I mean, I think Texas really thinks that Oklahoma is its biggest rival. But, Texas and A&M go a lot farther back. And, both schools talk about the other school in their fight songs. And so it's a big deal, no doubt about it. And of course, they have played 120 times now, or they are going to play 120 times. But I want to go over the win-loss record. Texas has won this game 77 times. A&M has won 37 times, and they've been 5 ties. So Texas is 40 games ahead in this rivalry. Okay, but never has the A&M been this higher ranked at number 3. And so, I mean, and look, this is the biggest game for A&M ever in this series. I mean, I think they're already a lock in the CFP. They can go to the SEC champion. They can go to the SEC championship for the first time ever in this league. Boy, did it tick them off when, Texas comes into the league for the first year, goes to the SEC championship. How? By beating A&M last year. And who really beat them last year? That was Arch Manning's coming out party last year, scoring the game sealing touchdown. And so here we are. We're sitting here in Austin, Texas. It's going to be a beautiful night. You got, Frank, you're talking about, cozying up to your fireplace. I'm definitely wearing my long johns tonight. It's going to be a little nippy here in Austin. And of course, we've already had a little bit of controversy this week because Texas announced it's not going to allow Rivalry, the mascot, to come on down 90 miles to Austin to join the Aggie football team, because last year the Aggies did not allow Bevo to come to Kyle Field.
Yep.
And so there's been a lot of teeth gnashing about that. So now we've got to wait till 6:30 for both teams to settle it on the field. Yep. I mean, this is definitely going to be the toughest team A&M has played this year for sure. And, Texas would like nothing more than to spoil A&M's perfect record. And I think you're right that if Texas wins, they do have a glimmer of a chance for being the first team to be, to have 3 losses and get into the CFP. But it's still just a glimmer.
Well, if you beat that number 2 team, you absolutely have that shot. And I'm telling you, the thing about the rivalry, and I'm gonna turn it over to Doug. What I love about Texas and Texas A&M, Texas might consider Oklahoma the bigger rival, but the biggest irritant to Texas is Texas A&M. It's little brother. And let me tell you, as big as they think they are right now, they think they're as big as that chip they've been carrying for the last 40 years around, hadn't won shit. I'm telling you tonight, they've been popping off like they've won something. They have won nothing. Texas beats them tonight and they're going to go to Atlanta, but let me tell you something, they're going to go in limping.
Doug.
Children, A&M and Texas. Why can't you be bigger? We're out here. We need to see Bevo on the field last year. We need to see Rivalry. Come on,
Agreed.
man.
Agreed.
Come on, man. And it's like, and let's let it be a cautionary tale over childishness. Auburn and Alabama interrupted play in that incredible rivalry series for how many years, Rob?
41, 1907 to 1948.
Yeah, and finally the legislature stepped in and said, y'all are going to play. But goodness, I don't, and I say the same thing about the Iron Bowl. You start with logic. Logic is Alabama's just better than Auburn this year, especially passing attack. And we've had some problems pass defense. Logically, A&M is playing better football. Ken won't dispute that than the law. Doesn't mean Texas won't win. These rivalry games are interesting, and we've all seen a 5-6 team, a 4-7 team give living hell to their undefeated or one-loss rivalry opponent, and find a way to win it. And I wonder about these kids. That to me, that South Carolina scare was possibly revealing about A&M, and they, I don't think if Texas can jump out to a lead and really get the crowd in it, and crazier things have happened. Sarkisian can cause you problems. Then it could go. I think if Texas gets that kind of even a 2-touchdown lead, they should go on and win it. But about the SEC championship game. How did we get here? We're at a place, if fans are honest, my Georgia friends, I meant to mention earlier, Duff, you asked the question. Georgia fans really don't want to have to go play in the SEC championship.
I agree.
game. What do you gain from that? You're not going to get – they've already got a bye. I think they're the 4th team with a bye. A&M has already been long since reconciled that they're going to play the SEC championship game. So I think it's a close call. If you could assure me I'm not going to have critical injuries – like happened to Georgia with Carson Beck, and it probably cost them a national championship, maybe, to ask Stockton to play the first time he's had to start in a full game under that pressure. I don't know that. I know Georgia fans don't want to play in it. I would consider, if I'm not going to get injuries, that you get some real game time play, and to go an entire month without playing a real game, you can see rustiness be a factor with some of these teams once the playoffs commence, especially if you get a bye. That's another week that you're really not, fine tuning and polishing what you do.
All right, Ken, I got a couple of that great stuff from Doug there. And I like what you said, Doug, about the South Carolina game, because I picked South Carolina to beat A&M, my crazy pick of the week.
Should have.
Felt smart until I didn't. All right, Tom Mildrum, the All-American guy from Barber County, Clayton, Alabama, is watching this show and had a question. He texted me, where can you buy one of those Texas A&M Yell Leader white jumpsuits? At the Nervous Hospital?
At the Nervous Hospital.
I mean, I want one. We're all wearing them on the Friday Roundtable. If A&M wins the SEC,
good to eat in there.
Well, you know what the Texas fans call the Yell Leader uniforms. They call them milkmen. So they call them the milkmen. I'm not sure exactly where you buy those, but Texas A&M has their own great traditions, and Texas, the Longhorns have their great traditions. And just like in Auburn and Alabama, you guys know this. Here in Texas, there's some families where one kid goes to A&M, the other kid goes to Texas, and one's the black sheep of the family. And yesterday at Thanksgiving, some people eat at one table and the other people eat outside, and it's all kinds of different rivalries. But
would you say that it's a strong word? Is there venom between A&M and Longhorn fans? There is venom between. It's not disrespectful mostly, unless you're talking about zip codes that could be rightly called redneck, and we've all got them. But is there venom? There's venom between.
Oh Lord, look at these things. Gee,
Milkman. Is there venom between the Aggies and Longhorns most years?
Yeah, I'd say so. You'd like to think they're just all a bunch of good Texas boys playing each other, but like I said, A&M talks about sawing varsity's horns off, and it's all about Aggie jokes to the Longhorns, and there's a lot of venom, and then if Texas starts winning tonight, everybody in the stands will start going, poor Aggies, poor Aggies. When you got 105,000 people doing that, I'd say there's some venom.
Ken, they're just off. They're just off. I'm just sorry. You have to be kind to them because you're on that side of the Sabine. We can call them what they are. They're a cult. They're nuts. They're crazy. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm sorry. I'm standing on it. Both Ken and I have to deal with them. You got to deal with them 365. I just got to deal with them once every season. They're a strange bunch.
Well, I know several Aggies, and they're engineers. They're smart. I know several. They got that is kind of but they are tradition. Everything is a tradition with them, and it's amazing. All right, Ken, quick question. We lost Doug. Here comes Doug. Quick question for you from Jeff Heimbach. I'm sure he's got relatives in New Braunfels and Fredericksburg, Texas. The big German from Memphis wanted to know, as did Chris Perkins, Big Daddy, a bunch of my Ole Miss friends. They said, ask Ken Capps. Gun to head, will Lane Kiffin be the head football coach at Ole Miss next season? If you just had to bet a steamer pack of crystals.
Boy, I tell you what, isn't that a good question? I don't think so. And I tell you, I've always had a man crush on Lane Kiffin. I just think he's a great guy, and he's definitely the best dressed coach in the SEC and probably all of college football. And I told him that several years ago when he was still at Florida Atlantic, when he was at Conference USA. I actually told him he looked like the Great Gatsby, and he told me, he thanked me for that.
He does.
And so I've always liked him. I know he's had kind of some rough spots in his past, but he's cleaned a lot of that up, and he's been a good family man here lately. And but what he's done at Ole Miss is just really amazing.
Yeah.
And I think he's got bigger places to go. And I don't think Ole Miss has the money to keep him. And so I think he's leaving. That's my impression. And I mean LSU would be a great stop for him, and I'm sure LSU has the money. But man, Frank, where are y'all getting that $54 million from? Y'all don't have all that oil money like we've got over here in Texas. Where are y'all digging up $54 million for your other coach?
Well,
That's a lot of chicken fingers.
Hey, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ty Graves is worth $22 billion from chicken fingers, and every one of those Raising Cane's he owns. No, we got money. Our oil is just in the fryer. Y'all's oil comes out the ground. Ours is in the fryer. But actually, we've got guys all over. But look, Ken, I'm telling you, he's done. This thing was signed on Sunday. If my sources on this are wrong on this, I'll eat a manhole cover.
Well,
that's what you said.
But that's the question. You say it's signed. Did you see it signed? Did you see the document?
I didn't. But the people that said it was done, I trust implicitly.
Well, you should work with journalism for your life, because if I chased every one of those, that was the ink. Hey, look, done, I wouldn't be in the business.
Here's the part. See, being a fan. Being a fan and not being a journalist gives me the ability to take in my 6-shooters like Ken and pow, 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 shoot them all over the place. I don't have to worry about any.
I was one of the. I think that athletic director strategy and behavior and risk aversion is about to change. Let me explain what I mean. Right now, it is a terrible time through no fault of Auburn or LSU or Florida. That's 3 flagship programs in their own right that have claimed national championships in the modern era. And you can argue who's got the better of it. LSU and Florida have the strongest debate on that because Gus Malzahn couldn't close the deal in Pasadena. But honestly, timing is critical when let's say you've got a coach that is failing, and I don't mean this to be about Florida, Brenden. I promise it's applied to multiple programs. He's in year 2, but it's nothing about it looks like it's going to turn around. But that happens to be a year where the supply of quality, if not splash head coaching hires, is better. You wait a year and look what we've got. It should have come as a surprise to no one that Napier was not going to make it. He could have, but that was not the smart money. Should come as a surprise to no one that Freeze was not going to make it. And yet the ADs in the interest of looking patient, we got to give our guy 3 years. He inherited a mess when recruiting. Then you enter the sweepstakes when it's an impossible year. The whole world wants to hire Lane Kiffin, and only one program can either retain at Ole Miss or hire it at LSU, which I agree with Frank. I think that's what you're going to hear within a day or two, that it's LSU. And good luck. Hey, Frank, it's either going to be boom or bust. I don't think there's any middle ground with Lane Kiffin.
Well, what do they say in the movie Glenn Ross? First place is a Cadillac, second place set of steak knives, third place you're fired.
All right, let's do this. Let's say hello to our.
I like that.
Bellamy, you got to lock your orientation.
Yeah, lock the orientation on there, Brad. That's what's causing that the lock thing. Here we go. All right. Before we go to Brad, we got a lot of people that watch this show all over the place. A lot of them in the Mississippi Delta. If you know what a listener sandwich is, I want you to tell me. Does anyone on here know what a listener is? Anybody ever been in the Mississippi Delta before and stopped at a convenience store?
A listener sandwich, no.
A listener sandwich in the Mississippi Delta. I'm talking down, in towns like Drew, Mississippi, where Archie Manning's from.
Might have something to do with tongue. Does it have something to do with tongue?
You know what a listener sandwich is? It's a pig ear sandwich on white bread dipped in barbecue sauce. Woo!
Lord have mercy.
Brad Bellamy. I know Brad right now is going, I can't think anymore. I'm so hungry. Brad,
can you get one of those at Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
Can you get one of those at Buc-ee's?
Not yet. But look, let me say, Brad Bellamy, Landers Ford, we're so blessed and proud to be associated with them. Greatest corporate sponsor. They're on 6 different stadiums in the Mid-South. Brad, tell folks what's going on today. It's Black Friday. There won't be anybody out right now. There's just been people sleeping in their cars since last night. But tell them about what's going on at Landers. We got Ken Capps, Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, Brenden Martin, and me. Then we're going to talk some college football.
Hey, good morning, guys. I don't know what's going on with my phone this morning. It's got the same orientation it's always had, but for some reason it's screwing up. So I don't know what the deal is, but it's Black Friday. And the beautiful thing for us now is Black Friday has changed. I mean, people are not out at the stores like they used to be shopping at 4:00 in the morning. No one's trying to recover from the early morning shopping. So we already got people in the showroom ready to buy cars, ready to buy trucks, and really excited about the program we got, which anybody that comes in through tomorrow, they get a brand new 65-inch TV if they buy a new or used car, not on plan business. So come on out. It stacks with all of our great offers. 0% for 60 on F-150, on Explorer, on Transit, on Escape. 0 for 72 on Lightning and Mach-E, plus great lease deals on Bronco and Bronco Sport. So it's a great time to come and buy, guys. We got 100 used cars on the lot. We got 300 new cars ready for you to pick out which one works best for you. So come on out and see us. Then on the service end, today and tomorrow, there's a $20 Ford rebate. We're doubling that. So anybody that comes in, not only are they going to get a $20 rebate from Ford on the Works package, we're going to give them $20 additional on Ford Pass Rewards points into their account. So come on out, check us out. We're ready to take care of you. We've got a full staff on hand today. Everybody's recovered from all the turkey and pecan pie, and we're ready to do some business.
Business, that's right.
There we
I
go.
love it. And then when you get in there, just ask for Brad. Brad's right up front when you go into Landers, the cleanest dealership that you'll ever see in there, and the best people. Brad, what are your top picks? Give me your top three, and then we'll start bouncing it around with this esteemed panel of football junkies.
Man, I mean, my top picks, I love the line at 7.5 right now for Mississippi State. Rivalry game at home.
Yep.
All the distractions of Ole Miss this week. The only game they've lost so far this year at home against the spread is Georgia. Every other game they've covered. So give me Mississippi State at home. Also, Missouri, the fact that Eli has now said, hey, you're my school, you're my team, only a 2.5-point spread in that game. I mean, come on. What's Arkansas done to show me anything other than losing this year? So I know that Bobby Petrino sent out that letter to all the fans saying thank you, but I think there's a lot more people in Missouri saying thank you very much. So Let's go Missouri minus 2.5. And, another game that's not on the SEC slate, but UTSA does not lose home games. And so I'm going to take UTSA at home. I think it's either -7 or -7.5. But they've absolutely dominated teams. They were supposed to lose against Tulane, supposed to lose against ECU, and completely dominated both those games at home. So those are the ones I got right now. I had a couple more locks, but I'll let you guys talk and tell me how right or wrong I am.
I like those SEC picks.
Yeah. Doug?
Brad, do you think Georgia Tech can make it a 4-quarter game with Georgia?
I mean, I don't know why they couldn't, other than the fact they sucked against Pittsburgh last week. They totally cost me last week. I thought after Pittsburgh didn't show up against Notre Dame that Georgia Tech, I thought that line was too low, and I turned out, man, that was one heck of a first quarter for Pittsburgh. But I think they can hang in that game. I mean, it's a rivalry game. Anytime you got 14-point spread in a rivalry game, to me, there's opportunities. Like another game I really like this week, West Virginia at home against Texas Tech, 24.5 points. They've covered at home this year. That's a lot of points, especially in a cold weather game. So rivalry games, when you got 2-score games, I think are great opportunities to try and ride the underdog.
Brent, Ken, before I go to Frank, I want to ask Ken something. We talked about that Florida State game, and I see a question on here. We talked about it a lot earlier in the show. Guy just got on the show. What's your take real quick? And then I want to go to Frank. Your take real quick on Florida State and Florida. In my opinion, when Norvell, he lost that locker room when they didn't make the playoff and all those guys quit, that was the death of the culture and the ruination of Florida State football. I would have said, you're not opting out, you're quitting. I would have publicly shamed those sons of biscuits, because that's what happened to Florida State. They've never recovered from it. But your take quickly before we go to Frank.
No, I think you're right, and I think Florida wins that game. That game has not been the same ever since. I think Florida wins.
Okay, Frank.
So what do you think about the Texas game, Brad? I love Texas getting points at DKR. I think A&M, you saw how shaky they were against South Carolina. They were lucky to win that ball game. What do you think about them getting points with the Aggies coming in?
I mean, Arch looked good. He's looked good the last few weeks. The one thing is every team needs a wake-up call game. You know, every team along the way needs that wake-up call game. I think A&M's a superior team this year. I'm actually going to – I would take A&M and give up the points against Texas today. I think that game is what they needed last week against South Carolina to kind of get punched in the face. The fact they recovered from it says a lot about that team. The fact that, I mean, they came out after halftime, realized everything's on the line. We got to do something here. So, you know, I could be completely wrong, but I would lean A&M versus Texas. I think their body of work has been pretty impressive this year. But I do think it's probably going to be a dogfight. I don't see it being a high scoring game. I think you're going to probably see, you know, both defenses show up. I mean, similar to last year. I mean, A&M had a chance to win last year. They blew it at the end. They couldn't convert in the red zone. But I mean, what was the score of that game last year, Ken? It was pretty low, wasn't it?
17-7. Hey, Brad, I just hope that A&M doesn't try any of those onside kicks against Texas like Georgia did.
Yeah. Doug?
Sorry, I was muted. I wanted to ask the group, it feels like to me, this is the most compelling Thanksgiving rivalry week in a long time. And now it's not because both teams have playoff contending records in every case, but Brad said it. Mississippi State has a situation being in Starkville with the chaos that Ole Miss has had. Ole Miss is a better team. They've shown that, but it means little. And I don't think Auburn has the pass defense, Brad, to beat Alabama. But the weirdness of a night game under these circumstances, it's really an all or nothing must win for Alabama, putting it mildly. So you just look at all of these games.
Yeah.
Don't leave your television today or tomorrow.
The slate is so good. Yeah. The slate is so good. And I don't want to talk about it. We ain't even talked about OU has a chance of going to the playoff.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just OU. I mean, there's never been a game as important as the Vanderbilt-Tennessee game in the history of that.
Another one.
I mean, somebody said that this would be Vandy's second biggest win last week on the radio. And I was like, man, I know the Alabama game was the biggest win in their history, but it didn't mean like it did, like this game does. I mean, if they win this game, this is the biggest win in the history of the program. And I do think there's enough dominoes that will fall to where they'll make the playoff if they win this game. So, you know, what makes me nervous as an Alabama fan is, all right, Alabama beats Auburn. They make the SEC championship game. They have 3 losses if they lose in the championship game. I think it's going to be a hard argument to decide that Vandy doesn't get to go, even though Alabama beat them. It was a close game. I mean, I find it hard to have a scenario in which a team has 2 losses in the SEC and has the body of work like they put together and doesn't make the playoff.
And with the story. And Heisman committee, for the love of God, you go chalk most years, or you fall for the whoever has the best hype or the team with the best record. But if Pavia does not win this Heisman, if he plays well and beats Tennessee, he's got to do that. Then convince me that Pavia hasn't won the Heisman.
Yeah. Well, you have been on the show Monday, and you would have heard that any quarterback could be at Vanderbilt and take that team to the record they have this year. So, you know, Pavia is just a role player.
Yeah, and
I don't agree with that. That was what was said.
We run out of time, unfortunately, but I'm going to tell you something. Doug nailed it about this compelling rivalry weekend, and the tip of the spear is for the first time in 133 years, both Vandy and Tennessee are ranked. You can't ask for anything better. Lee Fitting, right? This is a November to remember. Sounds like a corny saying, but it's true. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Think about it today when you're out and about. Help somebody out. Make a difference in somebody's life. And remember, words have impact. For executive producer Brenden Martin, the best in the business, check out all of our sponsors, Hewlett & Dunn, Rumble Boxing Gym, hempforpros.com. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It means the world to us. Thank you more than you know. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody, and stay tuned to this channel. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. As far as who Florida hires, I don't know yet, but we're going to break the story when we can. All right, John Boy.